Hi everyone! So this morning I went to my county library's book sale. Every so often they have what they call a bag sale, and that is where you can fill up a grocery bag with books, and each bag that you fill up is $6, and you can get as many books as you want. For a bookworm such as myself, it is a fantastic experience, and it is honestly something that I was looking forward to for a while. So yeah, I love used book sales. I love used bookstores. I think they're great. It's really nice to get books that aren't super expensive, and it's also really nice, like with this particular bag sale, it's nice to be supporting my local libraries. I think that's fantastic. So win-win scenario. All right, but I thought that I would show you guys all the books that I bought. So also to clarify, I ended up paying $6. However, some of the books that I got were in my sister's bag. She also got a bag of books for $6, and I don't know how many books she got. I technically got 34 books, but 2 of those books were books that my little 2-year-old nephew slipped into my bag, and I didn't realize it until afterwards. So if you count those 34 books for $6, that comes to about, I want to say maybe $2.50. I believe that's correct, but I'll have to see how many books my sister also got to figure out how much we ultimately ended up paying for the books.
Here are the 3 piles of books I got at the book sale. The pile on the left are the fiction books, the middle pile are the nonfiction books, and the small pile to the right are the picture books.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna start with the fiction books. So the first one is White Stallions of Lapisa. I read this when I was in elementary school, but I don't remember anything else about it. I have read other books by Marguerite Henry, and I really liked her books. I read Black Gold, and I read Bridie of Grand Canyon recently, and I really loved those 2 books. I thought they were fantastic, and this book I believe is on my to-read list. So yeah, next book that I have is On the Banks of Plum Creek by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I loved Little House on the Prairie books as a child. I read them constantly over and over and over again, and I technically have this book. I have all of the Little House books, but the majority of them are in not so great condition. So as I find better conditions of these books, I'm buying them. Since I was a huge fan of Little House on the Prairie, I also read the other books, or at least the ones that were in my library, of Laura's. There was her daughter, and there was like her mom and her grandma, all had like book series of them. And so I bought this Rose book, Little Farm in the Ozarks. It's the second book in the series. The first one is Little House on Rocky Ridge, and this one is by Roger Lee McBride, so it's not by Rose Wilder herself. However, I'm pretty sure that Roger Lee McBride actually knew Rose Wilder personally. So yeah, I really like these books. The next book, Plain Girl by Virginia Sorensen. I read this twice, I believe, when I was in elementary school. I liked it. Have not read it in many, many years, but because I remember liking it, I decided to get it, and I'm hoping to reread it and see if it still holds up. This one, All of a Kind Family by Sydney Taylor. I really enjoyed All of a Kind Family as a little girl. It was really, really fascinating to read a story about a Jewish family living in New York City at the turn of the century. This is a book I haven't read, Matilda Bone by Karen Cushman. I have, however, read Karen Cushman's book, Catherine Called Birdie, and I liked it. So I thought I would buy this other book by Karen Cushman. And I'm very happy because not only is this hardback, it's library bound, which means it's more reinforced than hardbound. So that's very great. This should last me a long time. Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle by Betty McDonald. I thought this book was fantastic as a child, about this woman living in an upside-down house who knew exactly what to do with problematic children. Very funny. I believe I've read all of the Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle books, but I don't have any of them, so I thought I should start adding these books to my collection. Yeah, Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle. Crazy Lady by Jane Leslie Connolly. I first read this book when I was in high school, and I liked it, and then I just reread it again. I don't remember if I finished it last week or the week before, but I liked it more the second time around when I was reading it. And when I saw it at the book sale, I was like, I have to pick this up because it is such a poignant story of what you might think other people are like, but then as you get to know them, they're actually a little different. So yeah, this book is Shakespeare's Scribe. It's the second book in the series of The Shakespeare Stealer by Gary Blackwood. I read The Shakespeare Stealer when I was in high school. I liked it. However, I haven't read any of the other books in the series. Sadly, I do not have the Shakespeare Stealer. Sadly, I don't have the Shakespeare Stealer in my collection, but when I saw a hardbound copy of Shakespeare's Scribe, I had to get it because I'm hoping at some point to read through the entire series, and including reading Shakespeare's Stealer again. This one, Mary Bloody Mary. So Mary Bloody Mary is about Mary Bloody Mary, the older sister of Queen Elizabeth I, and it's written by Caroline Meyer. I adored Caroline Meyer's princess books when I was in high school. I read them over and over and over again. My favorite was the one about Marie Antoinette, And I will say something I very much appreciate about her books is that she does do research for them and tries to get them as fairly historically accurate as you can, considering it is a fiction book for YA. Interestingly enough, her Marie Antoinette book, I believe some people didn't like it that much because they found it a little boring. That being said, for me, that was actually a plus, because the reason why it was so boring, supposedly, is she tried to be super historically accurate with the book. So, yeah, Mary Bloody Mary. Another one, Doomed Queen Anne. This is also by Caroline Meyer. It's in her Princess series, and it is about Anne Boleyn, the mother of Queen Elizabeth I. It's hardback, which is awesome, because I always love hardback books. And yeah, I love these books. Escape Across the Wide Sea. This is on my to-read list for this year, and I could not find it in a lot of libraries. I eventually had to use Link Plus to get this book, and it literally came in like about the same time that I got this at the book sale. But that's okay. I am looking forward to reading this, but I am looking forward to reading this book. Help! I'm a Prisoner in the Library by Eth Clifford. For some reason, I thought the first name was Ethel, but maybe I'm misremembering. I read this when I was in elementary school, thought it was fantastic, so I figured I might as well get it. One, The Pigman by Paul Zindel. I have read this several times. I first read it in high school. It is a very sad, heartbreaking book. The first time I read it, I'm pretty sure I cried. So it's also distressing, to be honest with you, but it is very well written. It is as sad as it is fantastic. And I have been looking for this book at used book sales so many times. I haven't found it. So when I found this library-bound edition of it, I had to get it. The last book in the fiction books that I got, and this is Ramona the Pest by Beverly Cleary. Also loved Beverly Cleary as a child. Read all of her books, and I am slowly building up all of her books for my collection. So Ramona the Pest. All right, we are on to the nonfiction. So the first one I have in my pile is Eats, Shoots, and Leaves by Lynn Truss. This book was pretty popular a couple years ago, and I started reading it, but I never finished, and I thought I would get a copy of it to finish the book. This book it says the zero tolerance approach to punctuation. It's kind of about, like those grammar Nazis. It's kind of like about that and how to be accurate how to be grammatically accurate when you're writing. So, yeah. This one, I got a Latin and English dictionary because I would like to work on my Latin, and this was, I guess you could say, the best quality that they had. They had a couple of other ones, but I thought this one was the best quality. The print is a little small, but it does have a lot of words and a lot of definitions. So I also got The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli. Never read this book. It's, I do know that it's incredibly well known, and so I thought I might as well have it, so whenever I have some time, I can read this. This one, Diary of an Early American Boy. So this is actually from an actual American boy's diary. It's from Noah Blake in 1805, and then Eric Sloane, he added some more information, so it kind of he put it more into context for those of us who do not live in 1805, so we can kind of understand more of what's happening. And there's a lot of really cool illustrations in here. We had this as a kid, and I kind of flipped through it, I skimmed through it, but I never actually read the whole thing. So, next one is from one of my favorite authors, Philip Yancey, and it's Where is God When It Hurts? I read his book, Prayer. I actually just finished that this week, the week before, and I read I have read The Jesus I Never Knew, but it's been many years. I really, really do like Philip Yancey's writing, and I'm excited to read another book by him. I got another Latin book. This one is a student's Latin grammar, and it's about Latin grammar for people who are learning Latin. Next we have Sophocles, Antigone, Oedipus the King, and Electra, and never read this. No, Sophocles is often on those lists of great books to read, so I thought I would pick up a copy, especially since it's a pretty good copy, so whenever I have time, I can read through Sophocles' works. Latin, Wheelock's Latin grammar. I know about Wheelock's Latin. Supposedly this is it's Friedrich M. Wheelock, and this is supposed to be his books are supposed to be very, very good for learning Latin. So my goal is to eventually learn Latin. I think that is going to be a goal that happens slowly, and I probably won't finish it for many years, but I can at least start. And it was so great finding Latin books at the book sale. I was not expecting that, but I'm very happy. It is the Concise Oxford American Thesaurus. I have realized that I would like to have a paper copy of a thesaurus instead of just going online, because sometimes if I'm handwriting something, I want to be able to just look up something in a book and not have to pull up my phone or my laptop to look it up, especially since I can get very easily distracted. So yeah. Matthew Henry's Concise Commentary on the Whole Bible. I am interested in theology. I think it's a very fascinating subject, and I know Matthew Henry's commentary is very well known. A lot of people have used this, and so I thought I would get it just to kind of read what his thoughts are. I know he's influenced a lot of people in their thinking, so I would get it. Josh Harris, I Kiss Dating Goodbye. If you grew up homeschooled and Christian at late 90s, early 2000s, you read this book. I read it when I was in high school. I was not the biggest fan of it because it kind of felt like the prosperity gospel of dating, whereas like, oh, if you do everything right, then you'll end up with a great spouse and like you'll have a fantastic marriage, when that's not the way it always works. So, and then I got it because I believe this book has been pulled from print, and I thought I would get a copy of it to have on my shelves. I'm gonna be honest, I don't endorse this book. I would highly suggest that if you haven't read it, you don't read it, and I would definitely suggest that you do not let this book influence your decisions. Not a good book, but since it was very influential for me and so many people, I thought I would just have a copy on my shelves. Next book, The Genesee Diary by Omri J. M. Nguyen. I have not, first of all, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, and apologies if I'm not. I've never read anything by Omri Nguyen, but he is frequently referenced in Philip Yancey's books, so I thought I would get one of his books and read through it. Next is yet another Latin book. This is Latin Introductory Course based on Ancient Authors by Frederick M. Wheelock. Hopefully going to learn Latin. Will take many years, but I will get there. This is the last Latin book that I got, but it's 38 Latin stories designed to accompany Wheelock's Latin. Eventually I would read Latin, so it's gonna take a long time, but I'll get through it. Very happy to find all these Wheelock Latin books. Last, for the nonfiction, I got If You Sailed on the Mayflower in 1620 by Anne McGovern. I have quite a few of these books. I'm trying to think. I have the colonial one and I have Thanksgiving one, but I think her books are pretty good, so I did get 2 picture books. I got The Story of Jonah, and it's an Alice in Bible Land book. I liked this book a lot when I was a little girl. I think I looked through this before I could even read, and I just liked the little blonde girl in her dress. So I saw it and I was like, I might as well get it since it brings back some memories. And the last is a Ruth Heller book, Animals Born Alive and Well. I would always suggest a Ruth Heller book. She does some amazing picture books. She has beautiful artwork. It's gorgeous, and I can't recommend her books enough. So those are all the books. Actually, hold on. These are the 2 books that my 2-year-old nephew slipped into my bag. I guess he wanted this book because it had bananas on the cover, so he thought it was about bananas. And then I don't know why this book was put in the bag. I couldn't figure that one out. But yeah, these, I'm gonna put these in the little free library near my house because I don't actually need these books and I don't see myself reading them. So yeah. All right, so those are everything I got from the bag sale. I loved it, and hopefully I will go to the next one. Yeah. Bye. As I was putting my books on the shelves, I realized I do have The Shakespeare Stealer by Gary Blackwood. So I don't know how I forgot that I had this book, but I'm very happy because this means that I can start rereading the series even sooner. So there you go.